Welcome, everybody, to episode 5 of Negotiate This, the power of your trust. So when we consider trust and look at it in any context, be it life, be it business, be it relationships, be it with ourselves, how does golf play into this dynamic? And for years I've played this game, and for years I've gone through the mercurial ride of the highs and lows of it. And with us today, we have Ron Del Barrio, and you're going to meet Ron in a moment. He is not only effervescent is the word that comes to me. He is alive. He loves what he does. He loves the game. And he's got a very unique perspective on his application towards the game. And as we all know, when we do something outside of the norm, it takes a great deal of trust because we have to rely so much more on ourselves, because the feedback mechanisms that we're getting from others are saying you're out of conformity. And that in and of itself takes a resolve. So the design of this next hour or so is to explore trust, but look at it through the lens of golf. And whether you play golf or not is secondary to the fact that the application of golf, standing over a golf ball, and all of the dynamics of what can happen, the process, the mental, the physical, the emotional, the psychological, all of it, there is something that is transferable to every potential attachment we have in our lives, and how we honor ourselves in that moment, how we apply ourselves and our grounded balance, our trust in ourselves before we walk into the room, or in this case, before we hit a golf ball. So Ron Del Barrio is not only a PGA golf instructor, he has a who's who list of clients from Jack Nicholson to Sylvester Stallone to Joe Pesci. The list goes on and on and on. And being a golfer in that world, and also being a golfer with guys like me and Mark Wirtz and Stephen Malbin and John Buscemi, we all come to the same fraternity of golfers, and it is Ron who is shepherding us through this journey of golf. So Ron, welcome to Negotiate This.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me.
So as you look at Ron, you will see that Ron, we did this offline for a moment. Ron is about 5'10" and weighs soaking wet 150 pounds. Well, I'm almost 6'2" and leaning up to about the 208 right now. But when we stand over a golf ball and Ron has a driver in his hand and I have a driver in my hand, how is it that Ron Del Barrio hits his drive almost 300 yards? And if he probably catches it, he can hit it over 300 yards. And I'm praying for 232. How is that possible, Ron? As it relates to trust, please enlighten me.
Well, I can tell you, my entire career, trust, as far as the golf swing is concerned, is giving up control. And by that, I mean, since you do golf, we all tend to make the ball the finale of the golf swing, which is only halfway in the middle of the swing. Physical strength means zero as far as power and control. I mean, there's a lot of physics involved, but to that point, the self-talk that we all have in golf, in life, the doubt that we all have is about giving up that control. In golf, you have to give up what you think control is with the hands and the arms. But if you think about the hands and the arms in any other sport, you don't control it with the hands and the arms. You control it with the big muscles. You control it with the brain, let's say. So for the fact that I can hit it the way that I hit it, we know it's not a physical thing because I shop at Baby Gap. I have no muscle on me. I mean, zero. But it's the trust that you first trust yourself, because that's golf. And that's what I think is the most frustrating thing in golf, is that a lot of people think it's a complete reflection on their ability or inability. And golf it doesn't matter your size, your height. There's Justin Thomas weighs the same as I do, and he just hits it 30 yards by me. It's form and trust. Technique, just pure technique.
Yeah. And so how did you develop that trust in that technique?
Well, I could tell you that, and of course, it's vivid in my mind right now. I was playing professionally. I did, like everyone else did, the traditional golf swing. And my caddy and I, this was in 1992, we're up in Northern California playing in a tournament. Woke up completely sick. I had the flu, 102. I'm like, told my caddy, we went to the venue, and I said, I'm just going to get my entry fee back. I can't even. He says, we're here. Let's just play. I'm like, you don't understand. I can't even hold the club. He goes, so I talked to the tournament director. He goes, you forfeit the entry fee. I'm like, okay, we're here. So a long story short, I won the tournament. It was a 2-day tournament. I shot 10 under par. The light bulb was because I was so weak, I couldn't even use my arms. And then that was when I said, wait a second, hold on. I'm doing this all wrong then, because the healthy me missed the cut and stayed open the week before. But it was giving up. I mean, not that I had to give up. I had no options. I couldn't use my hands and arms in the swing in which I was taught. And that's when the light bulb went on. I said, wait a second, there's got to be something else to this. Because I played sports like everyone, Little League, and I've been playing drums since I was 5 years old. So I understand how the movement of the hands and the arms have to be in any instrument you play. You can't be rigid. And so all these light bulbs started going on. And for the next 30 years, I've been ridiculed since. That's great.
We'll talk about that, how they're coming around. So adversity really was the mechanism that you had to give it up. There was no alternative.
None. No options at all.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because I didn't even know how it was that I was doing this or performing it until my caddy said, do you realize that every single swing you were already looking at down range before you even hit the golf ball? I had no idea. I'm sick.
Right.
Oh, trust.
So that's an interesting dynamic. So you had a third party reference, right, to bring back to you what you were doing. So how do you deal with feedback? I mean, so I'll set the table with it for a moment. Applied to a business meeting, right? You go into a meeting. I'll go into a meeting, and I'm in it, right? And I don't know. Sometimes I know it's going well. Sometimes I know it's not going well. And that's the beauty of a golf shot, right? You know immediately whether you trust it or not. I do, because it went off this way or it went off that way, or I dubbed it, or I missed it. I missed a swing yesterday. I missed the ball completely yesterday. I said to Ron, I hadn't done that in 10 years.
20, yeah.
There we have it. So this idea of having reference points to support us in leaning into greater trust in the moment, I think is a very valuable opportunity for learning. And we need people that we trust to give us that feedback, right? If someone's giving us feedback and we don't trust them, it's like we go the other way. But one of the techniques that I would encourage everybody to consider as you're trying something new, to bring people around you that, one, you trust, you respect their opinions, and ask their opinion as to, how is this going? Did that make sense? The intention I was looking for was this. Did I convey that? I think that's a great benchmark. And so that caddy pro, we'll talk about that caddy pro relationship. That's, you guys are in the trenches over, the world goes away, right?
Correct. And a lot of people don't understand how important a caddy is. I mean, even the top level, Rory, Tiger, they rely on their caddies because their caddies know them so well. When they start to get energized, let's say, or they're doing something that is not the norm, the caddy will walk them down. I mean, it's a relationship.
Right.
You have to know that. And even the world's greatest golfers or professionals have moments where they don't trust, or they start second guessing, or the kiss of death for anything is the self-talk or the self-doubt, which I am a professional at that, by the way.
Well, so let's get right to it. How do you deal with that?
Well, I learned early on,
your own self-castration, as it were.
As soon as I learned how to accept the failure, I happened to just miss this golf ball. It's just one shot, and that took a long time, believe it or not, to say it's okay to not perform. It's okay to fail at something that you're attempting to do. Matter of fact, failure is probably not the right word. You're going to miss shots. To this day, I can play golf pretty good still. Will I miss a ball? Of course I will. Will I shank it? It's golf. It's that part of it. But when you start to get more confident and trust in yourself, those misses come very infrequently. So you start building on that, and all of a sudden you become scratch and you're playing golf.
So I have this little connector. It was like, so anytime you say the word golf, we could say life. Right.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, golf, I've seen things on the golf course that are paramount. I mean, business deals, 7 digits that are either put together or not based on the human experience of that. So it's golf is just part of the journey of this.
Yeah.
It really,
Yeah. Yeah. Without question. So every shot is its own shot. Part of trust, and from my perspective, is trusting that I will have more, I'm going to create more opportunities in my life, right? The one of the nice things about golf is there are 18 holes, but there are many variations within those 18 platform holes, right? So you can get down in 1, you can get down in 10. And so great opportunity to keep playing it again. But I encourage everybody listening in that part of trust, part of being in the moment is trusting that I'm creating a business plan or a platform in my life that I'm going to create more opportunities. And if this one works or it doesn't work, I've created more opportunities that I can trust. One, that I'm creating those opportunities, and two, I can more surrender this one because I'm in that mind. And yes, absolutely, relaxation is part of trust. It's that's where the power comes from, right? In a golf swing is that fluidity.
it does, but that's not easy to have though. The situation, I mean, it's so important to the individual to, I guess, in a business meeting to nail it. Golf is intense because again, they feel reflects on their inability or ability, and they feel it's going to be taken that your person is no good or not good enough
Right,
because you
because you
can't
hit a crummy
perform.
shot. Right.
Right. So, oh, he can't be that good. I mean, when somebody sees me hit a bad shot, they look at me like, I'm like, and what does that look for? Well, you shanked him. Like, yeah, I know. Why? It's like, it's perplexing. I mean, you're going to not have a good business meeting one day. It
Right.
is life. You move on, you get better at it, just like you do at anything else.
So let's stay with that. So the kryptonite of golf, the kryptonite of life, I'm going to say ego and attachment to outcome,
Oh,
right? So
yes.
let's stay on the ego dynamic of it. I mean, I've never seen so much machismo. You talk about the whole jock nod, right? The guys in the locker room and the guys out on the first tee, everyone's on the driving range, everyone's looking at each other, everyone's
Oh,
sizing up
sure.
how good everyone is before they even hit a golf ball, right? How they dress, what they look like, how they
Absolutely.
and it's like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? We're trying to be cool. We're all scared out of our friggin' minds out there. That we're gonna be embarrassed. But isn't that life, right?
It is. I mean, the Corvette versus the Volkswagen,
Right.
it's the fronting.
So how do you coach to that when someone comes in and they have that attachment to the outcome and they care about how they're going to play, and are they going to impress you? How much of the time are they just trying to impress you to begin with?
Every single time. I mean, somebody will come in take a lesson. Well, I'm a 5 handicap, and as you know, Nick, 5 handicaps, you put in a lot of work to get to that level. Even I
Yeah.
mean, that's a lot of practicing, and the first swing I'll know if they're a 5 or not. So, and then I'll also be able to judge. Maybe there's a little ego involved in that, and so I'll do something to kind of break the ice, if you will, to not let them know I know. Just because if I can break that barrier down to show them themselves, then we can start doing some good work. So it's in that aspect, it's tough because you have egos from all kinds of walks of life.
Hmm.
But for the men, everything in golf is about distance. It's about killing the ball. When they see a 150-pound guy do what I do with no muscles, it pisses them off in a good way to say, okay, well, wait a second. I've got way better than everything, and why is it possible? So once I break that down, then they open up a little bit more for the experience. But that's kind of tough for these people sometimes because distance is everything in golf. What they think, which is not.
Right.
You know,
So now
success.
let's go to your technique. So your technique is I'm meeting someone where they are, right? And they come in with this hubris, and I'm going to do this, and I'm really good at this game. I'm just looking for a little tune-up.
Mhm.
We all meet people like that out there, right? And you have a repeatable, trusted process that you go through with people. And there's that process of calibrating who they are, where they are, how they are, why they are. All of that probably goes like this, right? And
Right,
at the
right,
end of the day, you're still going to rely on the tools and the skill set that you've got.
right.
But does it matter? Does anybody's personality, their ego, their attachment, does that throw you off your process?
No, because what I'll do is I'll find a way to make them feel comfortable and egotistical, whether that's putting it back on me, which if I can break it down in any way, I'll break it down so they can see that they can improve without giving up any of their manhood or, because even when I first started working with Pete Sampras, one of the greatest tennis player of all time,
Mm.
when he started getting a little bit, not because he never got frustrated, kind of like serious, I would ask him, so in your profession, why were you so good? Well, nobody could read my serves. And I don't know tennis, by the way. And I said, so what does that mean? He goes, well, I would sit in a hotel room 500 times a night throwing a ball up. I'm like, so that's chipping for the next month. And then he kind of said, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm like, because there's no shortcuts to becoming a good golfer. There's no shortcuts to becoming a successful person in business either, unless you put the work in, So I find a way to let them take the lead in their understanding of what I'm trying to get them to do without them knowing it, if you will. You know what I mean? So it's something that I could do just for the physical aspect first.
Yeah.
Just physical. Mentally, it's a different ballgame there. But physically, because once I break down their abilities or inability, then they feel comfortable with me, and then I just jump in there and ruin their day.
So it's does the building of trust, because there's a physical component and then there's a mental component, right?
Mental, yeah.
And an emotional component.
Sure.
Which is the first dynamic that you try to build up for them?
I'll always go physical first because, unless they have 2 left feet, and again, it's not conceptually, there's so much information out there. So more than likely, if you're a golfer, you've already had lessons and you've already watched the videos and been on social media. So everyone's got an overabundance of information. And with my method, it's so back-asswards that they do the head scratching until they hit that one shot. Once I get them to hit that one shot with what I do, then it's the trust is right through the roof.
Right. So then they'll accept that this could work, right? So
for sure.
No one walks in the door that meets a stranger and says, I've earned your trust, right? That is that process. And so I like the association of, I would agree. I would, from my novice perspective in your world, that it is the physical component, the experience of feeling it. Oh, I did that. Oh, could I do that again? Yeah. Now then the mental processing has to get to it. How do I do that again? Right. So always, how do I do that again? Right.
And I never sugarcoat it if they don't put the time in. Like I have this litmus test that I do with absolutely anybody and everybody. Yeah. When they take a first lesson, I will ask them, or even before the lesson, would you be willing to practice for 1 month just hitting a 60-degree L wedge and not playing golf? If the answer is no, I don't teach them at all. And by the way, I've never had them do that. I just want to know that they're committed to the process of it. The ego is pretty tough.
Well, yeah, we wanted that goes back to the attachment to the outcome, right? We want right away. And so the question is hard work a key to creating trust?
With the right person to give you if you can show them that there's a direction that you can develop that trust in themselves, because golf is trusting you. There's no opponent in golf. It's you and the golf ball. So if you can show them that they can trust themselves through me, then all of a sudden this relationship starts to build. And, it takes me a second to trust that they're willing to do that. So it is a commitment for sure, but you have to be willing to let go of all that.
Right. But what you're saying something which I love, because you're defining what is the application of hard work. There's an investment of time, but then are you being efficient, and do you have the right resources around you to support you in making the most out of that hard work, as it were, right?
Yeah, because practice doesn't make perfect. It's only perfect practice, right?
Right.
So it's the work you put into it.
Say that again. So I love that. So
practice does not make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect. Because people go to a range. I hit 2 large buckets. And that's what'd you do with that? Well, I hit balls.
Right.
So you just went through the motions, and I suck. Why is that? It's so mental and physical. You have to have synergy between those two in life as well, right?
Without question. And so you shared something that there's just you and the ball, right? So I'll translate that to, there is no other competition. There's how I get to the green versus how you get to the green. If we stay in tune with who we are and don't try to become the other person, we stand the greatest chance of doing that, right? So that idea of getting to the embrace of an acceptance of, my only competition is right here and how I'm going to approach this ball. I mean, when you're standing over a golf shot, what goes through your mind? Anything?
Well, me personally, I've done the work, and I have self-doubt. I have the talk going in there, depending upon the situation. And yes, I got ego too, but I've hit so many great shots in my career and so many bad shots in my career. I accept the outcome before I hit it. So that frees me up to then play the game of golf, which is like chess, because most people just play the game of the swing.
Uh-huh.
So I give into it. The law of least effort. I'm going to just let it come through me and happen. If it happens to be not a good shot, it just happened to not be a good shot. That is that. Moving on to the next shot, because it's just a golf ball in myself, my emotion. And it took me a long time to get over that fear of like, I've done this so many, I got to do it again. And the self-talk just got me to just cramp up and just be worse.
Yeah.
Like it is in life. You have insecurities, if you will. You're going to hit a bad shot. That's the way it goes. Move on. And I've always heard like shot at a time, you got to approach it one at a time. And, I would project, yeah, but that 15th hole's a par 5. I can get there in 2 until you just live in that moment. And if you're confident in that moment, then there it is.
So it's like, so we translate that to walking into a business meeting. You're doing a pitch, right? And I can't look, well, I could, but I don't know if it's going to serve me. What you're saying is I can't look to the signing of the contract as soon as I shake their hand for the first moment.
I'm
I mean,
prepared. I went in there prepared. That's the best I can be.
right.
That's it. If it's accepted, it's accepted. But I am
Right.
completely prepared.
And we look at golf. There's wind, there's rain, there's a bad lie. I mean, life brings us all of those obstacles, and it's how do we stay in our center? How do we stay in our trusting of ourselves, and then the letting of it go? That, to me, that's the exquisite element of golf, that I get immediate feedback, and the feedback that I'm ultimately looking for is, to what degree am I trusting myself? To what degree am I trusting myself now? Did I execute that when it was on the line, right? The practice swing, I've been told I have the most beautiful practice swing on the planet. And then suddenly something changes. What is that, Ron?
Everybody looks like Tiger Woods in the practice swing. The balls are, now it's Elijah Woods, because they just start feeling the pressure of like, what if I don't?
Right.
Versus like, whatever's going to happen. And again, it all puts the preparation of what you do. It's, I'm going to completely miss a golf ball again, maybe 100 times. It's golf. It's the human body. The timing changes every day. But at the end of the day, I trust myself implicitly. If there's a bad lie, it's a bad lie. I know how to do that. If unless somebody like, I heard a squirrel fart. Oh my God, it messed me up. No, you messed yourself up because you don't trust yourself. It's just on you in golf. And that's what makes it so frustrating for people, because the ball's sitting there. So, hey, come hit me. What are you doing?
Right. But what that frustration is, we all want to trust ourselves. And for me, that frustration, I know what the payoff is when I trust myself. Why didn't I do it? What did I make more important than trusting myself in the moment? I don't care whether I'm present with my wife or my kids, or talking to a peer, working on a deal. I know my best effort is going to be when I'm present, and I trust whatever abilities that I've got, and I'm going to apply them to my maximum effort. That's all I can control. Absolutely right.
So if you do something and your wife didn't appreciate it, and you failed at what you were attempting to do, you move on, right? I mean, if you put that much focus on one bad shot or one bad evening, you shouldn't golf, number one. Because this is just part of the experience. No one's ever shot 54 in golf, which is birding 18 holes. That's never been done. So it can't be mastered. Maybe 59, I think, was the lowest score by maybe 7 or 8 people. But if you can accept the outcome before you do it, regardless, if you go in prepared, whatever happens, happens. Now, then you go back and you work harder. Nobody ever hits all great shots. Ben Hogan said it the best. He said that one of his best tournaments he's ever played, he shot a 65 to win a tournament. And he said, I hit 3 great shots and 2 of them were putts. When I first heard that, I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, so it's
well, you bring
means
up
too much to a lot of people.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. It's letting the ability to let it go.
Accept it.
Yeah, but if I carry a bad shot with me the next shot, what are the odds that I'm going to trust myself in that moment that I'm going to do a better job? I got to let it go. I got to let it go.
That's what makes me
at myself right now. Let it go.
Well, okay, let's face it. And you and I were in the simulator a couple times, and it's really difficult to not look at the top left of the simulator, because that's the distance.
Yeah.
I'm always pointing at the club angle and club path, because that is how you play golf. So
Right.
in the game of golf, you're measured by how far you hit it. Let's face it.
Yeah.
People are just swinging so hard. They're trying to every 2 weeks buy this driver, add 40, 50, 70 yards here. They're making money, money, money. But that's not golf, as you know.
But they're playing on your ego and they're playing on your
Of
insecurity and they're
course,
playing on all of it.
absolutely, they're running the company.
All right.
Sure.
So Rick Ojeda's got a very good question. How do you handle it when you're nervous? First tee box, big shot, or the big putt? What are the mental focuses that you apply?
But for me, it's always the first tee shot's always been the best for me because when I get nervous, I just get into the zone of just shutting off the self-talk because we all just like, okay, don't do this, don't do that. What I'll do is I'll trick my brain by putting this is a physical thing, my hands and arms at a deficit so that they cannot work. So now my brain says, well, you got to trust the work you put into the body. And
Mm.
it always happens that way. Now, why I didn't do that for 18 holes, well, that's why I teach. But uh, even the top touring pros on the planet are nervous. Eddie Van Halen is a good friend of mine,
Hmm.
the biggest rock star on the planet. He would throw up every night before a concert. Everyone gets nervous. It's
Mm.
how you just let it go and you perform. If you happen to miss that first tee shot, you have another shot that you have to hit after that. So be it.
So, all right. So for you, it's a physical dynamic. That's your trick. That we'll call it a mental trick or,
Well,
or a safety. What's your safe word?
I would say, okay, for me, because I'm a professional, I would know if I'm nervous to back off 30% because I'm nervous. I'm going to go after it and it's going to make it much, much worse. So I know what makes a bad shot. It's when I give it more than 70% with any club in the golf bag. So I don't give it my all and put it all out there. I'll
Mm.
be reserved for the first couple of shots, even if I can't, I'm shaking. It doesn't matter. I'm going to control my emotion. I'm going to swing within myself, which is tough to do when you're nervous. You know, you just want to get it over with.
Is there a breath pattern? Is there a count? How do you occupy the mind that's just going screaming at you?
For me, I would always take 5 deep, slow breaths
Uh-huh.
before I actually went to my setup during my practice swing and when I'm aligning it. The fifth breath is right when I put the club behind the ball. And that routine, regardless if it works for anybody else, I built that routine so that it calmed me down. So a routine is something that you develop. And to this day, I still have it, whether it calmed me down or not. But it actually became calming to think about that. So it
Mm.
trained me to be, you know what, I'm much more relaxed when I do this routine, just like when I do my putting routine. It's a programming that you can do that you finally get over that the twitch, you know.
Right.
And are you going to twitch? Of course I'm still going to twitch, but you know what, that routine brings me confidence and it
It brings you
relaxes me.
trust.
For sure.
It brings you back into it. So
For
what
sure.
I'm hearing the application to life now is that when anyone's going into a situation where they have there's the opportunity for nerves to come into the equation, embrace a routine. Embrace a routine that works for you. You probably didn't have that routine the first time and say, this is it. I mean, you probably had to finesse that and tweak it and find what ultimately worked for you, right?
Yeah. And this is not just from golf. In my other careers, I was a paramedic and at too young of an age. And the
Mm.
things that I saw and touched and smelled, you shouldn't be doing at 18 years old. So I had to find a way to suppress that
Mm.
and try and not let it affect me at the moment. So I got the breathing thing from golf from that because I
Mm.
didn't want the real men. I'm a kid to see how scared I was and how. And then I did some stunts for 20 years, and I'm claustrophobic. But if I had to do something, I did the same routine, and it just calmed me down. So I
Yeah.
mean, that routine. When my wife yells at me, I do the same thing. I just otherwise I'm gonna. No, I'm kidding. But it's really it's my routine though. It's
Yeah.
what I do, and I think it's very personal. I mean, if somebody said I go like this, and it makes you, you know, you have to have something that calms you down, and you have to be able to talk yourself or walk yourself down from something, nerves, excitement, because the nerves and the excitement kind of go hand in hand.
Okay. And then so
But that's
so
me.
yeah, no, no, well, but again, ideally everybody listening is they're applying it to them because I can't tell how many times I've shared an idea or a concept or a strategy as to how I would do something and I articulate it almost in a mini role play. And then people go, golly, I wish I could have recorded that. You know, it's like, no, you don't want to record that because
Right,
that's the
right.
way I say it. You need to say the
Make
way
it your
you
own.
say it. So,
Yes.
um, okay. So then how do you deal with it when you've blown it? How do you get back into flow when you've gone out of it or frustration has kicked in?
That's when I learn the most. When I'm at that point of like, I've already lost it and I know I'm losing it. This is the time now to really work to see how I can get this uncomfortable feeling for the next 3 holes and see if I can improve on that. So I don't see it as a loss. I see that, okay, this is going to help me for the next round of golf that I play, because I know what I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling angst and I'm very uptight, and I can, regardless of the situation. So I'm going to try and learn from that moment how I can not do it the next round. And I'll keep doing that just over and over again. For a professional golfer, if you shoot 80, it's like, wow, he sucks. I don't have that ego. Will I shoot 80 or 90 again? I'm sure I will. It's golf. So I don't have that whole bravado of like, that I need to be shooting in the 60s all the time. This is a game that's never been mastered. I'm pretty darn good for myself, and that's all I care about. But I still am learning after 30 plus years. Still.
Yeah. And so it does come back to let it go, and as quickly as possible, and go back to that routine that grounds us, and
right. And this way you can continue to learn,
yeah.
Instead of just, the whole rest of the day is ruined and the next round might be ruined because you'll remember the bad experience.
So how do you balance your competitive nature with this surrender nature? I'm a very competitive person. I want to win every time. If I go on a listing, or if I'm walking around, I want to come away with that thing. I know how to get there. And I know that these techniques I need to thoroughly immerse myself in them and let the process unfold. But how do you, when you're playing at that level, and you've been around those that play at that level, how do you manage that dance, that balance?
Well, I'm not trying to sell anything. I have to sell me to me. So it's different in that sense. I have to convince myself that I'm going into that boardroom and I know what I'm doing for me, because it's just an individual game.
Mm-hmm.
So the more confidence that I build in myself, that, because I'm projecting what I want to do to the golf ball, to nobody else. And if I can control what makes me not hit a good shot, because it's only going to be me, it's not going to be a noise, or it's not going to be. So the mindset has to be that. And again, I'm still learning after 30 plus years. A new emotion comes in, or I'll meet somebody and it's like, oh, I'm not comfortable. It's just so beyond golf, that I'm still growing with a life, which is, I think, a great benefit of golf, because you meet all kinds of people.
Sure.
And you get to, then you get to share their personalities, or their shortcomings, or their whatever it is. I mean, it's just a great learning experience every day, which is great.
So,
but I still don't trust a lot of stuff, by the way. I still have to kind of like convince myself that.
Why can't you apply the trust you have in front of a golf ball to every part of your life, Ron?
Because I have my own insecurities and my own skeletons, and regardless of what they are, at least it doesn't come out in my teaching. I'll bullshit everybody, but I'm a great chameleon, or an actor. It's Hollywood. Still learning in life too. 54 years old. I'm still learning. My daughter teaches me things. My students teach me things that they're not aware they're teaching me. It's a great journey. I'm still learning. I'm open.
Let's talk about that journey. You've had quite a life experience in your life.
Yeah, it's been fun. Yes.
And you've had near-death experiences as well.
Yep.
And
everything's been fun. Yes.
That's the way you look at it now, and that's a very healthy way to look at it. So define what fun means to you.
Still breathing and living. I mean, the things I've done as a paramedic, I've seen so much death. I've given CPR maybe 5,000 times, and most of them don't come around. I know the importance of the next breath. So I don't put so much emphasis in like, I need to be this person, because you might go in 30 seconds from now. But that is also what I think kind of may have rewired some things that give me some insecurities, that make me apprehensive in certain situations, because I don't trust myself still in certain situations.
Can you give me a situation where that would be applicable?
I feel like, and my brothers will tell you, I have to be the life of the parties to make sure everyone's in a good mood and having fun, because I can't handle somebody that's not having fun or is upset, because it just makes me feel uncomfortable. So, I mean, I haven't gone to, my family business is in the music business. My first concert was Eddie Van Halen in '95, and I could have gone to a million concerts, but I can't stand crowds because, oh my God, they're not going to be happy. Maybe they're going to. So the insecurity I've always had is like, I have to be liked, and I want everybody to have a good time. And if they're not, it must be me. And I'm still working on that at 54. I'd rather be jovial and make some jokes than be confrontational, because I don't have that switch. You know, I had a bad stint where it was that guy, or I would get into trouble, and which I don't do anymore, which is fantastic. You know, physically, I used to have to lash out,
Right.
which I got over that because I didn't know how to handle that emotion. You know, so but now through life, still learning. I didn't trust
And
myself.
do you take, are there any pearls of wisdom that you take that you've applied to when you're standing over a golf ball? That
It,
experience?
well, you know, I still don't have it conquered yet because I'll still do the choke. But more and more as you get older, 2020 hindsight's amazing. I mean, had I known then what I know now, it would have been a different story. But the more confident I have in myself, it shows in my trust and relaxation because it's all
Mm.
about being relaxed. I used to wear my shoulders like earrings with everything, you know. But it's interesting, you know, meeting so many different folks like I do because it's so many golfers on the planet, 60 million, and hearing experiences, it just, oh, well, he's just kind of the same as me. So maybe I'm not alone in this. Maybe I can learn how to be more productive in my home life, in my golf game, in my, you know, in every aspect, my profession. But trust is tough, especially when you don't trust yourself.
Well, that's where it starts. So
Oh yeah.
I have a couple of quick questions, and then I want to talk about some more technique that we'll close with. And again, I love the questions; keep them coming. And Judith, yes, absolutely, breathe, baby, breathe before you hit that tennis serve. I couldn't agree with you more. If we think about a deal, right, and there's that moment of the close, right? I'm going to get them to sign this offer or whatever that's going to be. A golf swing is a process. You stand over the ball, the club goes away from you, the club comes through, past, hits the ball, and moves beyond you. At what point in a golf swing is trust most important?
During the entire motion. I mean, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
When you're going into a business meeting and
yeah,
you nail that meeting,
yeah.
and there's 30 other people there, do those 30 people go into their own meeting and want to do exactly like Nick? I mean, to duplicate?
No,
What do
I
you think?
think under that, and in that context, I gave them what they needed. That's it. So
Okay.
they're on to their next, right?
And so they'll make it their own, correct?
Well, they'll if I'm presenting something to 30 people and I get what the intention was to get it signed and move on, I'm the guy that gave them what they wanted. My point is a golf swing, the moment of impact, for me, right? You work with
Mhm.
me now. That moment, if relaxation and loose and my arms and the body's doing the work, well, as I'm getting closer to that ball, those wrists and clenchies come up.
So why don't you trust that? Because when you hit a good shot, you actually say, oh yeah, almost at the moment of contact.
Yeah.
So that next shot, why is that next shot different? Are you trying to force the duplicate,
Yes.
duplicate the?
Of course I am.
So because you don't trust it, right? Because the one that you hit really good, you're like not expecting to hit it good. You have no idea.
Right. Right.
You're letting it happen.
So there's no moment that's more important than the other. It's the entire
It's
grace of it, as it were.
it's more about form than physical strength and movement.
Yeah.
But if you can't control your own body, and that's what makes this game so frustrating, because you would think you can control your emotion and your own body with something that's stationary.
Right.
And again, this is the only striking sport that the ball's not moving, so it's not a reaction. So we have to impart all of that action. The difference is I'm so comfortable with time. Golfers just have to lash at it. That ball's not moving. So until I put that energy there, I know how to control my body. You've seen I can stop at the top of the takeaway for 10
Right.
seconds and still
Right.
get the shot. I trust time and I trust my body because I've trained that, preparation. So I know when I'm going to hit a good shot before I set up to it. When I have my routine and I'm feeling calm. Now, when I'm not feeling calm, I have to try my best to get back to being calm and then
Right.
step up. Will I hit a great shot? Maybe not. But I'm accepting whatever it is it's going to be. I've hit it a million times anyways. If it's a bad shot, moving on. Have to learn
Right.
from that.
So the idea of there's trust and there's also balance, right? The body, the
Yeah,
physical component of
the
being in
physical movement.
balance. As soon as we're not in balance, we clench up and we're not in trust. So balance and trust play exquisitely together. Yeah.
But balance is completely 100% involuntary. That's a reaction balance. Now, your body is trained to stay in balance regardless of what you do. Like when we trip in that millisecond, you don't think to yourself, let me put my hands out there.
Right.
That's involuntary. So what's frustrating is if you do not upset that mechanism, then you're hitting great shots like you did yesterday. But when you don't trust, you engage, that endolymphatic fluid makes the body protect itself, and doesn't matter if it's tennis, baseball, or golf. So there's things that affect that flow, which is not trusting things. Well, I'm going to steer it better. I'm helping it more. What made you trust in the swing previous was law of least effort. You weren't trying to make that happen. It was flowing through you, which I guess, I'm not in your field, in your profession, but I would imagine that's got a lot of things to do with being confident in putting out there that it's productive and it works.
Well, the interesting thing is, and here's an equation, an equator, as it were. I can walk into a meeting relaxed. I can walk onto a golf course feeling really good, hit a great shot, and then an external factor comes in that throws me off. Now, in the world, it could be someone screaming at me, right? Someone that throws me off my balance, and then that involuntary, I go to fight or flight kind of moments. The idea of the process of getting back to that trust in that moment, and so that just becomes external noise that I can either choose to buy into, or I can let that pass. And I love that dynamic in relationship to time, right? I can't hit the golf ball from here when I'm addressing the ball. I've got to take the time to bring it back to then come through it. How I respect that time, I guess, and don't try to force or rush that time. That's universal application. That plays to any business meeting we're in. We have our intention. My intention is to hit it 240 yards, God willing, and then it's the act of doing it. But that plays to any walk of life. We go in with that intention, and then you got to deal with the elements as they present themselves.
But if somebody in the middle of your thing stops you and says, "Don't wait a second," and interrupts your time, how do you respond to that? Do you respond by calmness? Do you respond by hold on? I mean, that's the time that you need to, right? Because there's all kinds of excuses in golf. The siren, and the guy was jiggling the keys, and that's because they're not performing, so they have to blame something else. So that's the trust that you have in your confidence in your profession, because you're educated and you prepared for it. Golfers don't prepare.
Right, and I think that's it. That's the common denominator. If someone says, "Hold it," and they stop, I will immediately just stop everything and say, "Okay, well, this is more important than anything I thought about a millisecond before. Something has happened. I need to deal with that in the moment." And so it's about coming present. It's forgetting the past, forgetting everything, and that moment is more important than whatever my intention was, because I can't get to my intention unless I deal with that.
So then, how do you reset after that interruption? You just said it, right? So same thing in golf, but golfers have 5 more hours to do that. And then another bad shot, and then somebody else's fault, because they are certainly better than what they're doing.
Right.
Not really.
Right.
So I mean, it's so personal, golf, which I guess it is in every aspect of life. Your appearance, what you do. It's humbling to know that there's no perfect in golf.
Yeah. Yes. I get it. It's actually liberating. There is no perfection in this world. There's excellence, but I'm going for excellence. I can't go perfection. I mean,
and what's crazy is when somebody sees Tiger Woods top a golf ball, and their expression, and what does Tiger do? He just gets another ball and hits another one, and there's that's why he's so good, because he just gets back into trust. He's going to hit another bad shot. It's frustrating for me, because if people knew how easy it was physically to swing a golf club, it frustrates me, because it's not the norm that I was taught. I was taught to do what everyone's still teaching, but it's not rocket science, and that makes me frustrated. But it is what it is.
Well, it's like anything. When we get the realization that it actually works. When I learned that 2 + 2 is 4 and it was right every time, it's like, I get this one. I look at this. The geometry opened a whole new world for me. So let me ask you a question. A driver versus, where I'm trying to get it out there as far as I can, and a 3-foot chip. Is there a different mindset? Is there a different world that goes on?
The only difference what amateurs do is the time difference. Shorter shot, they need just the amount of time that they're doing a driver, but they don't take it. They get faster. There's no difference in the algorithm. If you're throwing a ball 5 feet versus 105 feet, nothing gets more angst. You don't squeeze it tighter. You're giving yourself time to use the same muscles that you've trained. But when you don't use those muscles, or you didn't train, then of course the problem becomes the small muscles, which there goes the body balance and there goes the trust. And it's really preparation, because nobody, as you know, you golf, 70% of this golf game is from 100 yards and in, and 90% of the time people go hit drivers at the range. So it's the preparation that makes them fail. No one's prepared. You don't go into a meeting with like a one-page note. You prepare for it.
Right. So give me that stat again. So 70% of the game is
It's
from 100 yards in.
Right.
So for anybody listening, what percentage of the time where you're spending 70% of your time, are you putting 70% of your effort into it, right? So if in golf, it's 100 yards in, whatever your chosen profession is, whatever you want, your next steps of what you want to do, where that sweet spot is, that's where the majority of your time's got to come. It may not be glamorous. It's not the driver. It's, it's a pitching wedge. Or
a putter.
Yeah, or a putter.
But what's sad is that anybody that golfs knows this statistic. They know, because it's said universally, they still don't do it.
Yeah.
And then they wonder, why can't I break 80 or why can't I break 70? I putt and chip more than I hit irons even. I mean, because I can hit poor shots and still beat your butt because I can score.
Right.
It's a short game. But how much do you practice putting, Nick, and chipping?
Well, I have the good fortune of having a little down up. So in this pandemic, I'm spending much more time with that. But no, I'm guilty. Guilty as charged. So I want to close things out with some techniques that can ideally support everybody with their greater trust. And this came to me probably when I was 25, when I understood that the more that every word that comes out of my mouth is the truth, there's a direct equation to how much I'm going to trust myself. If I tell the little white lies, or if I say I'm going to be somewhere and I know I'm not going to be there as the words are coming out of my mouth, I create a disconnection to my level of trust, because I'm demonstrating that you're telling a lie right now, Nick. You don't plan on being there, and because you care about how someone feels or their opinion of you, or you want to make them like you, all of those attachments to those external outcomes become more important than me telling the truth in that moment. And when I made that shift, and I consciously endeavored to say that every word out of my mouth is going to be the truth. And if someone says, and I was like, well, what if someone asked me, Nick, do you like me? If I don't like them, if the truth is, I got to say, no, I don't like you. Now, if I'm being a minister, if I'm trying to help someone, I can tell you, it's not that I don't like you. I don't like your personality. I can start to clarify things and say, when you do this, it's not something I want to be around. Now, if you want to hang out with me, not that you may or may not anymore after I've just told you how I feel, we can work through that. And that it almost becomes a negotiation in certain respects, right? So when you're talking to a student and you observe something, part of your trust, I would imagine, is because you're going to tell them the truth. And I trust you because I know you're going to tell me the truth. Has that always been part of the dynamic of your teaching technique?
It's funny you just brought that up. I was the complete professional of just saying things for the moment, just because to make people feel good. And I knew I wasn't going to play around a golf with them. I knew, because I was that scared guy. You have to, and as you get older and realize that, honesty is the best policy. For me, it kind of backfired, because now I've turned into no filter. I'll call somebody on their baloney, but not in a malicious way whatsoever. And that's what my goal is, to get them away from whatever wall they have up, or whatever they think they want me to hear, so I can kind of get that relationship. Because golf's a lot of time spent in golf, so you spend a lot of time with an instructor, and that communication, that relationship's really, really important.
Yeah.
And so once you kind of break that down, and by the way, I've learned so much about myself by doing that. I mean, both my brothers will tell you I had a big issue, probably still do, but it's part of trusting me to be honest enough to open them up. And as the more experience I got doing that, I became a better teacher, because I saw the reaction, and of course I got some bad reactions too, but it makes me a better educator for sure.
Yeah.
To be that open and trusting with myself and open with them.
Well, it's also the resonance of what you're saying is so much cleaner. It's so much more effective. I found that because I'm going to tell you the truth, one, I can relax into it. Two, I can trust that it's worked for me in the past, and I feel better inside of myself.
Yeah.
Right. And I honor myself more. I'm going to honor it's almost selfish. I'm going to honor myself. You become a byproduct of me honoring myself, because when I care more about what you think of me than I think of me, I got a big problem. And walking into a business meeting and telling someone, we live in a world, Ron, of real estate where the technique is, well, let's tell them what we think they want to hear, because then they'll hire us. And so yeah, I'm sure you're giving me that. That's the
That's
knowing.
me.
Yeah.
You're describing me.
Yeah.
Like
And
what they want to hear versus what really I need to say.
right. And then it goes back to something we said a little while ago, the idea that, well, if I trust that I'm creating more opportunities for myself, I can live a much more empowered life because I am trusting myself. I am telling my truth. And then I give people the dignity to either accept it, appreciate it, and or reject it. And if I'm okay with all of those dynamics, the same way I'm okay with wherever the golf ball goes,
Right.
hopefully I have another one in my bag, and just let it go.
Let it go.
The game of life, the game of golf becomes so much more enjoyable because we're empowering ourselves to play it, and we're trusting ourselves in the process.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, for sure. I mean, that just really hit it on the head, for sure. Because that's when I started to get better, when I started opening all that up.
Yeah.
And as you know, the game golf is tough, but the game of life is tougher.
Yeah.
So if you get that synergy between any of that, then it's fantastic.
Well, that's, as I said, that's what keeps me coming back to the game, because it's an immediate feedback mechanism for me to say, am I at peace inside of me no matter what I do? Because again,
But how many times have you quit the game? How many times have you quit the game of golf?
I almost, before I came back to you, I was ready to quit the game. I was ready to quit.
I've done it 1,000 times. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, but then all I had to do was come back in touch with what I loved about the game. And then when I realized I can have that no matter what the outcome is, suddenly the game has become so much more enjoyable. Right. And then my reapplication of my desire to become better at it is simply just a product of, I want to be better at it, but I'm doing it on my terms. I wrote this whole book called On My Terms. I can apply it to the game of golf as well. So interesting word there. And again, that idea of, if I trust myself, I also can look to others and to manage my expectation to how I trust them. Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And so, but through our own security as opposed to insecurity, it's much easier for me now to go, oh, that's who you are. That's fine. You go be that. I just don't want to be around it. And the more we play to that level of self-trust, it just, the empowerment is everywhere. Ron, anything in closing you'd like to share?
I'd like to see you practicing today, and do a little workout in your golf swing. And thank you for having me. And I hope you have fun up north.
Yeah,
this was great. This was a lot of fun. Still learning myself. Still learning.
Oh, I think hopefully as long as we're breathing, the intention is to keep learning, because then we can make the experience that much better. So for all of you, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support and your questions. Ron Del Barrio, you are a rock star, my friend.
Thanks, Nick.
I so appreciate the way you educate me, the patience, the humor, the irreverence, and yet you get that I care about this, and you play that to me, and I love the way you work with me and meet me where I am, and I find in my relationships in life, I'm so much better served, and I resonate so much more when I can meet someone where they are, and I find that they meet me where I am. That's the honoring process. Trust is a critical component. My friends, stay tuned for next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. I've got a great guest that we'll button that up before I say anything else on it. And to this moment and going forward, stay courageous. Have a great day.